Every nurse will make a med error. Had a tri member reach out to me wanting me to talk about my first med error or mistake. And they didn't talk about whether or not I made an error, just wanted me to talk about when nurses make a mistake. And I thought I would just share my experience. I have made several errors. Most of them have been, maybe mistakes that wouldn't affect patient care. But I did make an error in the early years of my career that would have affected patient care had the scenario been a little bit different. And here's my story. I was a newer ICU nurse. I think it was in year 2, maybe year 3, probably year 2. I had I think I was finishing my first year working in a level 1 trauma unit. Large 22-bed ICU that was super, super busy at the time. Heck, they're all busy. I had a year of experience under my belt before I had started working in this particular ICU. I had a year of experience working in a smaller ICU that was only 12 beds, and it was mostly a cardiac unit. This particular ICU that I had moved to was a level 1 trauma unit, so things were a little different, a little busier, much more complex patients. I had an air of cockiness to me, as well as I really thought that I really thought I knew. I thought that my shiz didn't stink. That I worked with a lot of newer nurses, so I had more experience than about a quarter of my coworkers. The awesome thing about this unit was there was a great mix of experience levels. But I probably had more experience than a quarter of the nurses, which says a little bit about the unit. There was a high turnover rate because it was where everybody went to gain their ICU experience before they went on to NP or CRNA school. Needless to say, I was taking care of a patient who, if I'm not mistaken, was moving towards comfort measures. They were at end-of-life decisions, end-of-life care, and I don't remember the sequence of events, but I was busy. It was always a 2-patient assignment. One patient was much busier than this particular patient. This particular patient was intubated. They were sedated on, I can't remember which meds. They had, I'm going to guess it was propofol, fentanyl and propofol. And I went to change the bag of the bag of fentanyl, or I went to change the dosing of fentanyl. And instead of entering in the micrograms, I entered it in as milliliters. For those of you that work with fentanyl, you probably already know how big of a mistake that is. I'm not gonna go into the details of it, but I gave a large enough dose that was quite lethal. There was no patient harm, mostly because of the patient being intubated. Now, this was 14 years ago, so I'm not violating any HIPAA laws. I'm not telling you any details other than I entered in the wrong number for a sedative medication. Made a clear-cut error, and right after the error, I had contemplated not telling anyone because I was freaking out. Oh my God, I just made an error and my medication, the thoughts that were going through my brain were scattered. I was scared. I didn't know what kind of retaliation I was going to get. I had only been there a year. I was looking to move up the ladder and advance my career, and I thought this was a career ender. I thought the worst. I really thought I was going to get fired. I thought I was going to lose my license. I panicked, and I don't know how much time passed before my thoughts. I gathered my thoughts and realized that by not telling them was the worst thing I could do. So I immediately, after several minutes, I don't know how much time passed, I went to my charge nurse, told my charge nurse, who we had to go through a series of events to report it within the electronic health, the medical record. And then after I reported it and, it went through the system, that particular unit required you to go tell your medical director. And once again, I'm the new guy. I've been there about a year, not even a year. And I had to go tell the attending phisian, the medical director, that I made a medical error and that I gave an amount of a medication that was incorrect. So all of the fears that I had when I initially made the error and I thought about not telling anybody, I had calmed myself down. My charge nurse was awesome about it. Explained that this happens. There was no patient harm. There was no adverse event. We're going to chalk this up to as an error. And now you need to go tell the medical director. And the minute I learned that I had to go tell the medical director, my heart sank into my stomach because, oh my God, what was he going to do? What was he going to say? What was he going to think? I'm not out of the clear. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to get suspended. Just a million things happen to me. I go to tell the medical director, and he didn't even bat an eye. He was like, "Thank you for telling me. Have you reported it the way that you're supposed to report it?" "Yes, I reported it. I talked to the charge nurse. It's all taken care of." And he said, "I only have one question. Did you mean to do it?" And I took a step back and I was like, "Good God, man, no, I didn't mean to do it. That's a mistake. I made an error. Holy crap." He was trying to lighten the mood, and it worked, but it didn't work. He lightened the mood, and he made me realize that it is what we call a mistake, and that every nurse is going to make a mistake. Every healthcare professional is going to make a mistake. Most of the mistakes do not cause patient harm. Every once in a while, the mistakes do cause patient harm. Thankfully, mine didn't. And I don't know what happened with this tribe member and their mistake. They didn't share the details. I didn't want to know. But even if it did cause patient harm, they're called a mistake for a reason. And unless you blatantly, purposely tried to cause harm on a patient, there's a system of checks and balances that should be in place so that the error can be fixed. There can be a quality improvement to prevent the error from happening again. And it makes things, this question becomes a little bit more complicated because there has been recent events in the media. I'm not going to talk about that particular scenario or anything of the nature. I'm simply going to say that, there was a nurse that made a mistake that ended causing a patient death, and you have to decide for yourself. Is it something that we nurses, it's one to make a mistake. It's another thing to be held accountable. But in this particular nurse's case, at this juncture, at the time of this recording, which could change when you view this, at the time of this recording, that nurse was arrested for this particular error. And I feel very differently about that in a lot of different ways. I don't know what to say without. There could be an entire different video. I could dedicate an entire video to that particular subject. I just want everyone to know out there that as nurses, we are not perfect. We will make mistakes. There are things set in at a systems level that will hopefully prevent an adverse event, that will hopefully prevent harm to a patient. Can it happen? Yes. Will it happen? Yes. Hopefully it doesn't happen to you or your patient. Hopefully we continue to strive for perfection even though we'll never be perfect. We're human beings. Unfortunately, we are charged with managing human lives, and I've said it many a times that our decisions affect lives. Our decisions, if we make mistakes, if you make an error, it can cause harm to a human being. Ultimately, it can cause a patient death if you are careless, if you do not follow the things that are set in place. Now, once again, I'm not even discussing what is in the media right now because there's a lot of things that it was a perfect storm of many things. And we'll just leave it at that. I know that this particular thing in the media is going to complicate how we nurses view an error and how we are viewed as nurses for making an error. And there's probably going to be more to come about that. But as for now, I'm simply sharing with you that I have made a mistake as a bedside nurse. And as a nurse practitioner, I will probably make more mistakes. Hopefully, it'll never cause an adverse event or cause patient harm. We do everything in our power to prevent that from happening. And I'm just here to share with the rest of the nursing profession and this particular tribe member that reached out that you're not alone, that you are definitely not alone. Find me a nurse that hasn't made a mistake, and I'll find you a nurse that is lying to you. Because every nurse has, will, or has the potential to make a mistake because we're human and because of all of the things that we're responsible for. How did I get over it? Time and support from my fellow colleagues, and a great support system and great colleagues that I worked with at the time who constantly reiterated that I was not alone, that I was not the only person, nor would I be the last person that made a mistake in the world of nursing or in healthcare. And I'm here to tell that particular nurse in the media, as well as the tribe member who reached out to me, that you are not the first person, nor will you be the last person to make a mistake. And I hope that the events in the media will shed some light on what is the best course of action when it comes to making errors and mistakes, and what we can do about it once it happens, up to and including what are the ramifications for making a mistake.